Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers are kind of in a rock and a hard place because of James Harden and just all of the drama that he is just surrounded in with Philly. He clearly wants out. He's trying to make things uncomfortable and trying to force his way out. We've seen James Harden just quit on several occasions with past teams, Houston Rockets, the Brooklyn Nets. A lot of questions of if he's going to do the same thing with the Sixers. One of the big things that I've talked about during this just whole Harden drama is the Philadelphia 76ers need to make sure Joel Embiid is happy and need to do whatever it takes. Even if you have to trade James Harden away for a bag of peanuts, you do that to keep Joel Embiid happy. Now, obviously, you want to get something in return because that's a good way to keep Joel Embiid happy. But what would you rather have? A couple pieces that are an expiring contract that at least you know will show up and play, and Joel Embiid will feel like, okay, well, at least this team wants to play, and maybe you can kind of just like, hey, I'm going to have all this cap space next year. You can kind of pick your team. You can pick your players. Just keep you happy. They need to keep Joel Embiid happy. And we got a little sign that is not great. It could be nothing. It could be something. So as you see on the screen, here's his Twitter bio. And you may notice something here. Well, he updated his Twitter bio. Take a second, look at it, see if you notice what is now missing from the process, Joel Embiid, Joel Troel, as he likes to troll a lot. And here, I'll give you the look. Philadelphia, as his check-in, all of that, the whole processing thing. And then you look at it, and he removed the processing, and he removed Philadelphia. And this, of course, has Sixer fans and just NBA fans in the community questioning, is this the signs of Joel Embiid unhappy, wanting out? And it could be something. Again, it could be nothing. Could very well just be, hey, he's now doing other stuff. He's doing things. Removing the processing thing is interesting. Moving the location, right? Because now it has some other location on it, which is fine, right? Like, to me, that's not a big deal. But the processing thing, like just removing that entirely, because it's kind of like his brand, especially with Philly. I don't know. Again, could be something, could be nothing. But regardless, again, it's a sign of what could potentially come in James Harden being unhappy, or in Joel Embiid being unhappy because of James Harden, right? James Harden, based on reports, this is only the beginning. Him calling out Daryl Morey, him talking his talk and all that stuff is just the beginning. And last thing you want if you're Philly is to end up being in a position to where you have to trade Joel Embiid and you have to trade James Harden, right? Now, I actually think it's not the worst thing in the world to trade both of these guys, because here's the problem too. Let's say you trade James Harden and Joel Embiid and the Sixers team end up having a terrible season, and then Joel Embiid requests a trade. Now you are in big trouble, because now you're in a position where teams, you just lose all your leverage. Now teams can just kind of wait it out, or, you're still going to get a good return. You're still going to get pieces. You're still going to get assets. Like, you're still going to get a haul. But if you can do it preemptively, you're probably going to get more of a return than you would have otherwise. And so, I'm not completely against the idea of, hey, let's hit the rebuild. Let's trade James Harden for whatever we can get, and then trade Joel Embiid to like the Knicks or something. The Knicks will probably give you whatever you want, right? Get a package of RJ Barrett and Grimes and whomever, right? Bunch of draft picks, all that stuff, and just kind of start from scratch. I don't think that that's the worst thing in the world for Philly, because I don't see them winning anything this year unless they do get another star. But like, who is that star, and what team is trading that star for James Harden? Is Philly really going to bring James Harden in a training camp? Because one, James Harden already said he's not going to be there, and I fully believe him. Again, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. He has shown you who he is twice now. Showed you with the Nets, and he showed you with the Houston Rockets. A guy that quits on your team, a guy that was so bad they thought he was wearing a fat suit, right? Like, all of that. It's a disaster. And I think Philly needs to make a decision. Do we trade James Harden and try to keep Joel Embiid happy? Or do we basically just trade both and be done? If it was me, I would talk to Joel Embiid. I would sit Joel Embiid down and say, hey, buddy, we're going to get rid of James Harden. We're going to try to get whatever we can get. but we want to try to get expiring contracts because Tobias Harris, basically it'd just be you and Maxey, and all we'd have to do is move off of PJ Tucker, unless you want to keep Tucker, but all we have to do is move off of PJ Tucker, and then we basically have enough to get another max player and almost another max player. So do you want us to do that? And you just be patient, ride it out. We'll try to build the best roster this year for you as possible and then see what we can do next year. Or are you kind of in the mindset of like, hey, I don't want to wait potentially another 2 years to do anything, and now we're rock bottom. And if his temperature is like, I don't really want to wait, I would tell him, all right, don't request a trade. Don't do anything like that. Let's keep this quiet. We will shop you. Give us a list of the teams that you want to go to, and we'll kind of gauge the water and see what we can get for you and see if we can send you to one of those teams. If not, just work with us. We'll try to figure this out. I really think that those are the two best courses of action, right? If Joel Embiid is willing to be patient and is willing to give you an opportunity over the next year to try to retool this thing, then go that direction. Trade James Harden. Why do you want to run the risk of Joel Embiid at some point this season saying, you know what, I'm sick of this, get me out of here? Why? That's the worst thing that could happen to Philadelphia. And the sad thing is, I don't think anyone would blame Joel Embiid at this point. Think of how much the Philadelphia 76ers has botched this whole process thing. And if you're Philly, I really think that there's a real argument of just every year you're a second round team since you've drafted Joel Embiid, right? And I don't see that changing. If James Harden was fully committed, bought in, and things were good, then yes, I think you have a potential. You're one of 3 teams. It's you, Boston, and Milwaukee. A couple things fall your way, all of a sudden you're in the finals. And maybe you could even win the finals, right? It's a real possibility. But if James Harden leaves, you're not going to get a star that's going to make sense. So why not just build around Maxey? Why not trade James Harden for a package that makes sense for a rebuild rather than trying to go get another star, and then trade Joel Embiid to the Knicks or somebody like that and get some nice young pieces that you can add to this current roster, this current core, and start the rebuild process, right? I mean, even OKC or something like that. OKC's got a bunch of really nice pieces. Can you work something out? Because you're going to get probably one of the biggest hauls ever for Joel Embiid. And I don't know, my thoughts on it is it's better to be proactive and not have the disaster, because we've seen what the disaster causes. Now, you can make an argument Joel Embiid is such a talent that that it won't matter whether Sixers are ahead or not. But we've seen teams kind of you might get an extra package or an extra piece or an extra draft pick or something that you might not get otherwise. And the job is to maximize as much as possible. And I think that would be the best course of action. But again, I think it comes down to Joel Embiid. If I'm Daryl Morey and I'm the Sixers, I'm sitting down with Joel Embiid and we're having a conversation. And it's, what do you want us to do? Are you willing to wait and be patient? Because we're probably not going to be able to get another star. So we could trade James Harden to, the Clippers or whatever and get a package of Batum and whatever and Covington and a bunch of expiring draft picks. You and Maxey are the one number 1 option, number 2 option, and then we get a bunch of 3-and-D style wings and we try to go push for a championship. But chances are we're not going to do it this year, but we'd have all this cap space. If any of the guys that we do get work out, maybe we can re-sign them to smaller deals and then go and push for another star. That's definitely a possibility. That's something that they could do. And I don't know, I think it boils down to Joel Embiid. But hopefully this isn't the beginning signs of Joel Embiid wants out, he's gone. But it is interesting. Could be nothing, could be something, but we'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you make of this whole thing? What do you think of this whole mess? Do you think this is a real sign? Joel Embiid is not happy. It's kind of a subtle shot, but it could ramp up if this continues. Do you think, no, it's nothing? Guys change their Twitter bios. Guys change things all the time. Maybe he's got something coming up or something that he wants to, whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't put too much weight into it, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the next like month or so, we look back and go, oh no, yeah, that was that was definitely a sign. All right, like here we go. And how do you feel? Like, what do you think they should do with Joel Embiid? Do you think like, not saying you have to trade him, but do you start like kind of gauging what the return would be? And if a team offers you something that's just blows you out of the water, you do it. I think that is a real possibility. Do you think, no, you got to keep Joel Embiid at a cost? Last thing you want is him leaving in free agency or demanding a trade and making things public. And now you're just in this like rock and a hard place all over again. What do you think they should do with James Harden? Do you think you just trade James Harden, get it over with, move on? Like whatever you can get in return is better than dealing with the James Harden that just isn't going to show up or is just going to completely quit on the team. That's kind of my thought process. Like, would you rather, like, yeah, a package of like Batum, Covington, and whatever, like, Norman Powell isn't the sexiest package in return, but at least all three of those guys will show up. All three of those guys will play. Gives you a secondary ball handler, another scorer, gives you 2 perimeter defenders. Like, I don't know. I just think that that's a better approach. But anyway, again, love to hear it. However you feel, let me know down in the comments.